Are you still wondering why you should be using video in your lead gen form? Then listen to this.
Some of my form highlights include an 80% completion rate on the vast majority of my forms. So using video in my forms has helped me capture leads, qualify them, and nurture them in unique ways that people aren't used to quite seeing so much.
That is Darnell Brown, one of Typeform's biggest community champions and our inspiration for this video, where we'll talk about how to create a lead gen form with video. Hey, my name is Susie and I am the video educator at Typeform, and today we're going to go through everything you need to know about lead generation and how it can benefit from video forms. Then we'll do a walkthrough of a lead gen form that we created using video so you can see exactly what this will look like and how you can replicate the process using Typeform. And if you want a bit more insight into why you should use video forms, we have a video on our YouTube channel talking about all the ways video forms can outshine text-based forms. We also have a complete guide to video forms over in our Typeform community with insights from Darnell Brown, who you saw in the intro earlier. Darnell has been using Typeform for years and he's seen a lot of success using videos in his form, especially for lead generation. So we're actually going to take some of that advice that Darnell provides in his guide to create our very own lead gen form with video today. And if you're already convinced about using video in your lead gen form, then feel free to use the navigation and skip through to the walkthrough. So let's get into it. So as we all know, or maybe you don't, lead generation is normally part of your inbound marketing strategy. It involves generating demand and attracting an audience, and normally you do this by creating content to help them find you. Once they do find you and land on your website, you want to keep these people engaged and capture them as leads. Normally that can be through something like a form on your website, maybe courtesy of Typeform, or some gated content like an ebook or a white paper that require people to put in their email address before they get access, thereby allowing you to capture that lead. Here, of course, we want to hone in on that form as a method of lead capture, specifically a video form. And one of the key benefits that we can all agree on is that videos are more engaging.
As you know, in today's world, we are very distracted and we love being instantly gratified. If you have someone's attention, it is imperative now more than ever that you hold on to it, that you sustain it to get them through to the end of your interaction with them. And if you're looking for people to fill out your forms, you have to be getting them to engage with you quickly and start to build that know, like, and trust factor. This way they stay through to the end, because if there is no trust, there is no loyalty and no sales either.
So what Darnell is mentioning is crucial because having a video form is definitely more engaging than just having standard text.
It engages your audience because if you leave them to their own devices with just text in your forms, they may not get through to the end, they may stop and get distracted. Whereas with video, you have less of a likelihood of that happening because it compels your audience to interact with you in a way that they're not used to seeing everywhere. At least that's what's happened when I use video in my forms. And it becomes almost impossible for people to not go on to the next question or statement or next kind of section in your form when you are infusing your forms with video.
So you can really have an impact right away and make yourself or your brand more memorable. Which brings me to my next point, which is the fact that having a real person representing your brand or your company can actually help build rapport and trust more quickly, and that'll actually help you capture and convert more leads.
Without that loyalty, without that trust, they're not going to stay even to the end of the form. As people get to see you, look into your eyes, look at your mannerisms, your body language, they get to hear you. Then they understand your message and what you're trying to articulate through your forms. We want our respondents to get a good feel for our brands because in an increasingly AI-infused world, that human touch is sacred, is special, is distinct. So when they can see you in video, they know it's not AI generated, that there's a human face on the other end that is taking the time to guide them through their type form.
Okay, so like Darnell said, adding that bit of a personal touch can really go a long way in this day and age when there's just so many brands out there and it's really hard to tell who's who or what's what. So this lets you really stand out from the crowd. Okay, so that is how a video form can really help you amp up your lead generation and capture. Now, what about the form itself? You're probably wondering, what does this form actually look like? What do the videos look like? What kind of questions should I be asking? We're gonna dive into that in just a second, but first I wanna go through some of the basics and what you need to know to actually create your video form and what you need to do before you jump into Typeform. The first thing would be to write out your questions and video scripts beforehand. So decide on the questions you want to ask, the videos you want to record, and even write out the scripts for each video. And of course you want to keep it natural, so you don't have to worry about writing a script word for word, but you can just write down at least the key points that you want to cover so that when you are recording these videos, things will go a lot quicker. And I just want to highlight here that you don't need to have a video in every single question. There's obviously times where videos are going to be a lot more engaging and a lot more effective, but there are times when a simple text question is totally fine. So I'll go through some of these examples in the walkthrough of when you can use video and when it's okay to use text. This takes me to our next step, which is to plan out your form's flow. So forms can kind of get complicated pretty quickly, especially if you have a lot of branching and rules, which in Typeform we call logic. I'd fully recommend planning out all of your question paths beforehand to make sure that you're not missing any videos and just to avoid confusing yourself while you're creating the form. So you can even write this out on paper or you can use a Google Doc. And sometimes it actually helps to start from the ending and work your way back to know exactly the steps that you need to get to that end point. Finally, once you've decided on all of that, you can go into Typeform, add your questions, add your logic, and then add your videos. So you can record your videos in Typeform itself, or you can do it outside of Typeform and then upload them later. So this just depends on the vibe that you're going for and the equipment that you have at hand. If you're using Typeform, you'll be recording on your laptop camera or maybe on a webcam. But if you have some equipment like a more professional camera, then you can use that as well and then upload them into Typeform. So these 3 steps that I just talked about are all the steps that I went through to create my video lead gen form for my agency, Zoe Digital. So I'm gonna walk you through that form right now so you can see the end result. So we are Zoe Digital, a creative agency, and we have created this lead gen form that we will embed onto our website. When people land on our site looking for our services, they'll be greeted with this form and this video. Before we dive into the video questions, you can see on the side here that we have about 9 questions in our form, but not everybody will see every single question that we have here based on the logic that we've set up on the form. I'll go into that a little bit later, but first, let's go through the form. Our first question is a statement, and as you can see here, we've actually started off with a video. So let's play that first.
Welcome to Zoe Digital, your partner in navigating the digital landscape. My name is Chloe, and I'm one of the brand strategists here at Zoe Digital. We specialize in transforming businesses with cutting-edge digital strategies that drive growth, engagement, and success. From search engine optimization and web development to social media marketing and data analytics, we offer a huge range of services designed to elevate your brand in the online world.
So this is basically an introduction to the company. We have Chloe, one of our brand strategists, introducing Zoe Digital. Having Chloe here, for one, helps explain what we do. This is a great opportunity to give a bit more information than you maybe would if you just had text here, since you probably wouldn't want to introduce your company with a wall of text. And since Zoe Digital is a small agency, about 15 people, it's also really cool to see who you might be working with. So here we are really putting a face and a name to our brand. And this is a statement question, so we're not asking for anything here. We're just providing people with information and also kind of camouflaging the start of our lead gen form with an introductory video. So once they click Let's Get Started, they'll be taken to the first real question of our form. And again, they'll be greeted with a video.
We offer a range of services including digital experiences, campaigns, brand strategy, and SEO optimization. If you know which services you're looking for, feel free to select one or more from the list. If you want a little bit more information about each one, you can select option E to learn more.
Okay, so here we're going into a bit more detail about the services that we offer, and if they're ready, letting them decide which services they're interested in. But we're also giving them the opportunity to learn a bit more about what we do. So if they're not totally sure about what each of these services are, we're going to provide them with additional information. And the cool thing here about having a video in this question is that you can reference the multiple choice options that are available. And you can play around a little bit with that in the video. So it feels a bit more dynamic and engaging, being able to reference your actual form within the video. So if they are ready to choose a service, and as you can see here, we've set multiple selection on so they can choose as many services as they want, then they'll be able to choose those services, and we'll move directly to question 7 here, which is the contact form question, which I'll go into more detail in just a minute. But what I do want to highlight here is that if they want to get more information about some of our services, they can do that too. So if they select option E, they'll be sent to question 2, where they can select a service to learn more about it. So in question 2, you can see that there's no video, which is totally fine. This is more of a navigation question where we'll link to a video question explaining each service. So if they choose A, digital experience, for example, they'll be sent to question 3, where they'll have a video with more information about that service.
We craft immersive digital experiences that captivate users and drive engagement. From intuitive website design to interactive apps, our focus is on creating seamless, user-centered interfaces that elevate your brand's online presence.
Okay, so that is just a quick introduction to the type of digital experience that we offer. This helps give a bit more information about our services without taking people out of the lead gen form. And again, it's much more dynamic, and you're able to get across a lot more information quicker than if you were just to have some text here. Another idea could be to upload a video with examples of things you've created here, but we just went with Chloe explaining this service. So we've done the same for each of our services and recorded a video explaining it in more detail. And within each of these questions, we give the option to go back and learn more about other services, which takes people back to question 2, or they can choose a service which goes back to question 1 for the service selection. So our leads can watch all or none of these videos. So assuming they've decided on a service, they'll be sent to the contact form question. Let's play this video.
Great. Now it's time for us to get to know you a little bit better. We'll start with a few of the necessary details, and then we'll get to the good stuff.
Okay, so this is a short and simple video. This question doesn't necessarily need to be a video, but it's nice here to set expectations by saying that we're going to be asking some follow-up questions about their project. So we're asking for the basics: name, email, and company. And then, as you can see here, we have added a partial submit point. This means that once respondents pass this question, their responses will automatically be submitted. So if they don't get any further in the form, you'll still have their contact information to be able to follow up and nurture those warm leads. Okay, next we have a multi-question page where we've added 3 questions asking for some additional details. Here we're asking about industry, budget, and timeline. We've skipped the video here and stuck with text. The reason for that is we don't really need to explain anything more here, and also just to show that you don't need a video just for the sake of it. It's better to have a video where it'll be most impactful. Finally, we have one final question in our form.
Awesome. Finally, if you'd like to share any additional details about the project, now's your chance. This can be anything from the type of goals you're expecting to achieve, deliverables, or anything else that you might think is important for us to know moving forward. Feel free to record a video explaining what you need, or if you prefer to just write it out, you can do that here too. Once you hit submit, we'll get a notification and we'll get back to you within 3 working days to talk about next steps.
Okay, so this is probably one of the coolest ways to use videos in your form. Here, we're asking our leads to share anything they want about their project, setting expectations, and are giving them the chance to answer with video. So in the first part of the video, we're kind of guiding them to share the type of information that would be most valuable to us when working with them. So a lot of times you'll see a text box asking for additional details when filling in a form. But maybe a customer or lead has no idea what to say, or they have too much to say to write it all down. By giving them the chance to answer in video, you're really opening that door for them to share as much detail as they want. And this could even reduce the need for that initial meeting or call that you'd have with a potential customer, because you're already able to get a lot more detail and information that you'd probably otherwise need to jump on a call to get. Also, by Chloe being on camera, you're making them feel more comfortable and more likely to mirror that behavior and jump on camera too. And if they're not camera ready, they still have the option to write out what they want to say via text. Also, at the end of our video, we're able to set expectations by telling them that we'll reach out within 3 business days. So hearing this from someone face-to-face makes you really trust that we will get back in touch when we say we will. And then at the end, we have the end screen, which just reiterates what we mentioned about getting back in touch. Finally, I just want to go through some of the logic that we've set up on our form. So here you can see the logic that we've set up. I know it looks a bit complicated from this angle, but it's actually fairly straightforward. So here's where we ask respondents which service they're looking for. If they already know which services they want, they'll select that in question 1 and be taken directly to question 7, where we'll be able to collect their contact info and continue with the form. If they want more information about our services in question 1, that's when they'll land on question 2 and then be able to choose whichever service they want to learn more about. And remember, they can always go back to question 2 or go back to question 1 to make their selection. So that's why these are kind of in their own loop. So they'll have to go back to question 1 in order to make their service selection and then continue with the form. So that's all set up here under branching, and I won't go through all of the details of the setup, but you can see here that this has all been accounted for in our logic. And that is our lead gen form complete with video and logic. So that is how we created our lead generation form in Typeform. Now, of course, this is not the end of your lead generation, qualification, and nurture journey. Typeform has a ton of different features to help you add segmentation, follow up with respondents, integrate with your CRM, and analyze your data. So make sure to check out our YouTube channel and our Typeform Help Center for more videos and articles on how to close the loop on your entire lead generation process. And if you like this video and you want to see more, don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.